Hi there, this is Linda, and welcome to my channel. And welcome to my 5-part series on tips and tricks for Project Life. I have been doing Project Life for 13 years, and I have no intention of stopping. But I get so many questions frequently about how to make this process manageable, fun, and something that you want to continue doing year after year. So, welcome to my series where we talk about all of these things. This is part 3 where we talk about all things photos. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, let's talk about photos. I think this is probably the most important part, or one of my favorite parts of Project Life. So the first thing I want to say is you need to have a system to organize your photos. So you can see on my screen, this is how I organize my photos on my computer. I organize them by month and then by week because I do weekly Project Life. If you do Project Life monthly, I would suggest maybe doing monthly folders. If you do it weekly like me, I would consider doing weekly folders. And that way I have a place to hold all of my photos that I'm going to pull from when working on a weekly spread. You can see on my computer that I have more photos in there than I would possibly put in Project Life. I have basically every photo I took during that week, other than photos I take of my projects because I don't put those in there, but I also have screenshots and duplicates and all sorts of things. And I save all of those in there initially. I do go through and call out the ones that I don't want and I move things to other places, but that's an entirely separate video on photo organization. But for purposes of Project Life, when I first take the photos, I drag and drop them into that specific folder. In case you're not familiar with Mac products, there is something called Photo Stream where you put all of your photos into the Photo Stream and it automatically puts them on all of your devices. And that's what I use. If you don't have Mac products or you don't want to use that, I know a lot of people use Dropbox or some other mechanism to transfer their photos from their phone or wherever they're taking them and then move them onto their computer or wherever they are editing those photos. If you don't have a computer or you're not using a computer, you could definitely create folders on your phone and put photos in there or on an iPad or whatever type of device you are using. The important thing is to just have a system in place to organize your photos. Okay, second, I want you to consider your photo orientation. So I'm going to flip through a few more of my photos for the current week on my computer here for you to see. So these are all the photos that I've taken this week so far. And like I said, there's a mix of photos that are like actual life photos. There are ones that I have edited already. There are ones that are screenshots or things that I'm definitely going to delete and not put in my album. But these are all of the things I have to choose from. So when you're looking through these photos, you can see very easily that I take a lot of vertical photos. And that's because I tend to share my photos on Instagram stories pretty frequently. And so most of my photos are vertically oriented. That way I know that I'm going to want to have most of my pockets in Project Life be vertical. And for me, I like to use the 3x4 pockets as vertical and the 4x6 is horizontal. There's definitely page protectors that have them the opposite way. I found early on that it was easiest for me to streamline the process if every vertical pocket was a 3x4 and every horizontal pocket was a 4x6. When I'm taking my photos, I know that most of them are going to be vertical. So most of my pockets are going to be 3x4. And that is one reason why I do 9x12 Project Life, because the 9x12 size works really well with the 3x4 pockets. You usually have almost entirely 3x4 pockets on a page protector or only a couple of 4x6 ones, which works perfectly for the style of photo taking I'm doing right now. If instead I was someone who took mostly horizontal photos, I would consider a different page layout. I also, if you took a lot of square photos because you're taking a lot of photos to post on your Instagram feed, could consider doing a spread that has square pockets. Okay, now going into some actual examples of photos. The first one I want to point out is the idea of photographing the mundane details. So in Project Life, you don't need things to be very important or big or all these fancy events to fill a spread and to have it be meaningful. For me, my main
joy from Project Life is seeing all of the details that make up my life. So here's an example of photos that are very mundane details. I have a photo of my coffee mug, this little nook in my kitchen, my cat on the stairs and taking a nap, and a sunflower that I saw when I went for a walk. Nothing that big or important, but they all bring together to tell the story of this specific week in my life. Another thing that you might want to take photos of is your food. So here's an example where I took a photo of my dinner, some cooking, and a couple of my coffee. And you can see not a lot was happening this week photo-wise, but I have some photos of my food because food is an important piece of my life. And I love looking back on this and seeing, oh, this is what I was eating at this point in time. These are the bowls that I was using. These are the cups I'm using. This is what my meals looked like, which is an important part of your life and a great thing to document in Project Life. Okay, so another great photo opportunity for in your Project Life album are before and afters. And I think this is a great way to document little things that happen in your life or changes, but it's also kind of motivating. So for example, this week, I cleaned out my entire closet and organized it. And I captured a before and an after, plus a during photo. And this made the process so much more enjoyable, and the ability to see this reflection and then come back and look at it later in my album means so much to me. Here is another kind of before and after. So this week I switched cubicles at work. So I took a picture of my old cubicle once it was pretty much empty and I had moved out, except for my few last things. And then my new cubicle, once I was kind of settled into it, or like the view from my new cubicle, because I got a window, which was a big deal. So that is a way to kind of document another type of before and after, which is also super important and nice to have in my album. And I could show you examples of before and after all day, but I'm just going to show you one more. So here I finally tackled organizing my bathroom cabinet, which was, you can see, a huge disaster. So I had the before and the after photos documented here. And again, I just love the before and the after photos. It is such a great way to show things that you accomplished during a week, or things that changed, or just all sorts of things about life, because that's kind of what Project Life is about, is documenting what stays the same and what changes over time. Another great thing to document photo-wise are to include screenshots. So instead of just worrying about capturing photos, or sometimes people worry that they don't have enough things to photo or they forgot to take photos, you can take screenshots. So here I took a screenshot of my home screen documenting this notification that I got from YouTube. It is so fun for me to look back and see when I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and to see what my lock screen image was at that point in time. It is also so fun that here I took a screenshot of a Zoom call that I was on, and it was fun to have that. Actually, I don't think I took this. I think someone else took it. It looks like Lisa probably took it because she's at the top here. But this was a Zoom call from the creative community, from the Ali Edwards community. I don't even remember what it was from. It probably says in the journaling here. But it was just a fun way to document something that happened this week. Oh, there I am. So in addition to screenshots of your screen or things that are happening, you can also screenshot news. You can screenshot, these are some comments on, it looks like you are on Facebook that I wanted to document. You can screenshot text messages. There's so many pieces of your life that happen in electronics these days that are easy to create screenshots and include them in your albums. So another thing you can do is snag photos from the internet. There is no rule that all of the photos that are in your album have to be things that you took. So for example, here, I grabbed this photo from the internet. I just did an image search. This is the Olympics. I watched the Olympic opening ceremony this week, and rather than taking a photo of me watching it or a photo of my TV or anything, I just grabbed an image from the internet of the US team, which is obviously going to be a much better photo than anyone I could have taken since I wasn't there, and this is taken by a professional photographer. And that is just a fun way to include another piece of that week in your album. When I say snagging photos online too, it doesn't mean it has to be a public photo or like a photo from the news or something. It could also be photos of your people. So here's a photo I just grabbed from my daughter's Visco account where she posts some photos. And I don't even know if that photo was taken in this week. It probably wasn't. It's when I thought to go grab it. And I was just like, you know what, this is a recent enough photo. I included it here. And that gave me some additional photos for this week where I didn't have a ton of other photos. Okay, finally, what I would say is my absolute favorite thing about putting photos in Project Life or way to capture photos is to capture progress over time. So this is similar to a before and after, but it's multiple shots. So here is an example where I did it across this week to document my plants blooming and the weather. So on Monday, my yard was kind of a mess and, it's good. There's leaves and all this stuff. And then on Tuesday, it is snowy. And then on Wednesday, the snow is totally gone. The flowers are starting to bloom a little. Then on Saturday, I cleaned up the yard and mulched. And here is what it looks like after, where the tulips are starting to bloom. You can see the change of the plants over time. You can see how I cleaned up my yard. You can see the weather. You can see my shoes. And I love that that's a progression throughout the week that you can see from Project Life. My absolute favorite progression over time that I have done in my album is building my house. So what I did was I designated this top right corner here, and this was a year when I was using this Design A page protector every single week. And what I did was I designated this spot as my house progress, and I created a digital template where I could put the date, the week number, and then it had like build one day at a time on it. And you could see my house being built week by week. And so here you can see, I'll just flip through, then they dug the hole. There's a little bit more of the foundation. There's the foundation has been laid. They're starting to build the floor. Walls are starting to go up, the second floor, the roof, a little bit more here. Now they put the actual roof on and it snowed. And the windows came in here. Trying to see what's different. Doesn't look like much happened this week besides snow. And then it moves into the next year. But this ended up, I showed the progression over the entire life of the house so that you could see how it grew over time. And I absolutely love that. And you don't have to be building a house to do something like that. You could include progression over time for your child or a person's face. You could show them every single day or every single week for the entire year. You could show it's a pregnancy. I would definitely do that with a pregnancy once a week and show how your stomach grows over time. There are so many things that you can document over time in your album.
Okay, those are all the examples that I have in my album. I do have a couple more tips for you, but I do want to point out that this is not really a photography tips or style or how to get the best photo video, because I don't think I'm the best person to teach that. There is so much out there on that if that is something you're looking for. But instead, I want to really have you come away from this video thinking that there is enough to photograph in your life. You can do this. But if you are someone who struggles with getting enough photos to do weekly Project Life or monthly or whatever it is you want, I'm going to focus on weekly for my video, but you could apply this to any other time frame. One of my tips is to do a weekly check-in, and this is something that I do. I tend to do this on Fridays. My weeks run Monday through Sunday in my album, and Friday is just a good time based on my life and what I have going on, that I go and take a few minutes, sit down on my computer and see what photos I've already collected for the week and what stories I've collected, and just do a quick check-in. Do I have enough photos? Have I not been taking any photos? Do I need to prioritize taking photos over the weekend so I will have something to include in my album? And sometimes I get there on a Friday and I have like 2 photos and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go around and take some photos. And maybe it's just, thinking about it enough to take a photo of my coffee on Saturday morning, or a photo of my yard, or a photo of my cat, just something small so that I have at least one good photo for the week. Final tip If you are still struggling to take enough photos or find things to take photos of, I highly recommend starting a photo a day project. I used to do this a long time ago, and it got me in the habit of picking up my phone and taking those photos very regularly. But if you do want to do something like this, go on Pinterest, go on Instagram, and search photo a day. There are so many prompts out there that you can use as jumping off points to take a photo every day or every week. There's a lot of different permutations of it depending on what you want to do, or you can just do your own personal goal of taking a photo every single day. No matter how you approach this, there are so many ways to just get yourself taking more photos and you won't regret doing it.
I hope that this video gave you some tips and ideas for photos to capture in your Project Life album.
Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Thanks. Bye.